We've all been in a rut. We've been doing great for the past 2 weeks or so. But all of a sudden, something just happens, whether it's small or big, in our control or not, that just fucks up our flow and routine. And then randomly, we just become a complete 180 of the man we just were in those last couple of weeks. Discipline turns into undisciplined. A strong mind turns into a weak one. Our enthusiasm for doing our routine and doing the things that we set out to do for today turns into, it doesn't matter, I'll just do it tomorrow. Or it doesn't matter, I'll just do it next week. Why does this happen? Why when some little thing that takes us off course for a day or two, it's able to just completely change our actions? It's because of adaptability. People don't practice and know how to adapt to changes in their routine and schedule. And this lack of adaptability and knowing how to adapt is the number one reason why they continue getting into these ruts and not being able to have long stretches of discipline, like periods of time where they're just working. Section 1. Perfectionism is an excuse. Perfectionism is the main reason why you can't adapt. Perfectionism is the direct opposite of adaptability, where in perfectionism, you can only function if everything is perfect and in the right place. Adaptability says no. It doesn't matter if the situation or time isn't 100% perfect. I'm going to make it perfect and function at the best of my ability. A lot of people claim to be perfectionists, right? They want everything to be perfect 100% on the money. Like if everything is not in the right place, they're not going to start. But in my opinion, I see them as making an excuse. Because how we view perfection is subjective. I can say this movie or show is perfect, like Breaking Bad. I believe that Breaking Bad is the perfect show. Not one piece of dialogue or shot wasted on that entire show. But more than likely, there's a couple of people that will literally say that Breaking Bad isn't perfect. Does that make them wrong? Just because they differ from my view of perfection? No, it doesn't. Because how we view perfection is subjective. Everyone might have the same definition of perfect, that everything has to be correct, everything has to be right. But the things that we consider to be perfection are subjective. Not everyone is going to agree that this song is perfect, or that album is perfect, or that food or TV show are perfect. So where am I going with this? What we consider perfection is subjective. Yeah. So, what is the overall meaning of all this? Now, this is where everything I just said comes into play. So let's think of a perfectionist. So for perfectionists, they have this high expectation of what they consider perfection. What if that expectation or that view of perfection is too high? What if we can lower our view on what perfection is, or even just change our view of what perfection is? Instead of considering perfection as everything has to be in the right place in the right time in order for me to consider it perfect, why can't the perfect time be something much less? We know when we're in a rut, the worst part is our mind. Our mind telling us that, nah, you can do it next week, since Monday is a fresh start. And trust me, this excuse or need for perfection has plagued and took months away from my progress and consistency. So I know what happens in a rut. One side of your brain kind of deludes you into waiting for that perfect time, right? But in reality, that's really just an excuse for you just to be lazy for 3 or 4 more days. And the other side is kind of telling you, don't wait until Monday, do it now. You're missing out on valuable progress. The side of your brain telling you that you don't have to wait for that perfect time is right, but it isn't strong enough. That part that's telling you to wait till Monday or that perfect time is stronger than that part. So you're ultimately going to more likely listen to that part telling you to wait for the perfect time. So why not change what we consider the perfect time? Because if we can lower our expectations of what we consider a perfect time, that means we'll be more likely to spring into action, because the perfect time is more achievable and will be more common for us to actually experience, rather than this high expectation of what the perfect time is that comes every once in a blue moon. Section 2, changing our perspective of perfection for adaptability. How do we change our perspective of perfection while keeping the definition of perfection? Let's say right now you're in a rut. Visualize this. I'm going to visualize this with you, right? Close your eyes. Close your eyes, right? Okay. If you're in a rut, what would be the perfect time for you to get out of a rut? Like the perfect day, the perfect circumstances, everything. I'll give you mine. If I was in a rut today, so on Tuesday as I'm writing this, and on Wednesday as I'm probably recording this, my perfect day would be Monday on a school day, right? So I can do 3 hours of deep work and then go to school. Now, the reason I'm picking a school day as my perfect circumstance is because usually when it's not on a school day, I have too much free time. So I just end up, after doing like 3 hours of deep work, I just end up going and just being lazy again. But when I have that constraint of time, right, from 4 to 7, I feel more productive, right? I feel better and I feel like I'm doing more rather than just having 4 to 7, I'm doing actual work, and then all of a sudden when I'm finished with that work, I'm like, what else is there to do, you know? So that would be my perfect circumstances in order for me to start the process of getting back into my groove and routine. Think about yours. What day would you start? What other things will need to happen? How much work would you do? Everything. I want everything. The conditions that need to be met. For example, I need it to be Monday on a school day as my perfect time, or what used to be my perfect time. All I want you to do is destroy that view of perfection, right? Crumple it up and throw it in the trash. We're going to create a new and better view for you. So what would that be? Well, since our goal is to essentially become more adaptable, we need a view of perfection that fits with the traits an adaptable person has. So what does an adaptable person do? Well, they're able to adjust to new conditions. That's the main thing, right? So we need a definition of perfection to relate with adjusting to new conditions. With all that being said, you're now going to view the perfect time when you feel like you're wasting progress and time that you can be spending to get closer to your goals. In this rut, or if you're scrolling on Reels or something, it doesn't have to be a rut necessarily, or whenever you feel like you're wasting time scrolling on Reels, or you feel like you're wasting progress if you're in a week-long rut, as soon as that feeling pops up that you're wasting time or progress and can be doing something better than whatever you're doing right now, right? That's when you spring into action. That's what you consider the perfect time. That's how to adapt. When you consider perfection not with external factors, but with internal factors. Let the perfect time be influenced off internal factors rather than external, because you can't control the time it takes to get to Monday or next year. You can't speed up time. You can't control any other condition that you need in order to consider it the perfect time. Those external things are out of your control. If you know Stoic practices, you know that they drill this idea that external things are out of your control because it's true, and that the only thing that you can control is your internal state. So why not link what you consider perfect to that internal state? Because now you have all the power to determine what's the perfect time. So again, change what you consider to be the perfect time to the moment you get the feeling that this thing you're doing or rut you're in is wasting time and is stripping you away from progress towards your goals. That's when you spring into action and do the thing that you've been avoiding, whether it's scripting, working out, whatever it is. There's things that you know you have to do but aren't doing it. But while you're in like this rut or scrolling on Reels, or I don't know, not jacking off, I don't know, watching YouTube or something, you know, there's that thing that you know that you should be doing is always in the back of your mind, and you kind of have like this uneasy feeling about it, and you're trying to like forget about it, but it just keeps on coming back. When you feel that you're wasting time while doing like instant gratification activities or progress when you're in a rut, that moment you feel that feeling, you're like, I have to do this now. I have to spring into action. So I'm going to repeat this again because I want to drill it in your brain, right? I want to drill this into you. Right?
Pause.
You are now going to consider the perfect time to now be the moment, the moment. This means as soon as you get the feeling, you spring into action. So the moment that you feel like the thing that you're doing or the rut you're in is wasting time that can be used on your goals and is stripping you from progress towards your goals, you immediately spring into action, right? And you do that task that you need to do. You do whatever you need to do to get closer to your goals. And if you don't know your task, I have a video on planning as well as making a routine. They're the last two videos, so if you're struggling with making a routine and planning out your day, those are great videos for you to check out. Section 3, high priority versus low priority. Now let's say you've changed your definition of perfection. So now you're rarely wasting time on things that don't benefit you, and you're able to get into action quickly. You still need, just in case if something is out of your control and you know it throws you off, you need to know high priority tasks versus low priority tasks. And these seem self-explanatory, right? High priority tasks are tasks that are mandatory and the most important and what you need to do. In order to identify your high priority task, you need to look at your goals and need to see what tasks relate more to your goal. Let's say your goal is to make 10K a month. What task seems more important? Hopping on sales calls or meditating? You can only pick one, right? And you can only do one of these actions for today. So if your goal is 10K a month, what are you doing, right? What are you doing? Are you hopping on sales calls or are you going to meditate? Which one do you think is going to get you closer to your goal? I'm going to give you like 3-5 seconds. I don't know how to count. All right, hopefully, for the love of God, you picked sales calls over meditation, right? Because sales calls are more closely related to your goal of getting 10K a month, right? Because you're selling to people and getting money if you successfully sell to those people, right? So that means hopping on a sales call is a high priority task for you if your goal is like to make money or make like a big business. So I want you to look through your routine and plans for today and just ask yourself, what are the things that are most closely related to the goal that I want to achieve? If your goal is to get an aesthetic body, going to the gym should be a high priority task. Now, when you identify these high priority tasks, I want you to vow that no matter what happens, out of your control or not, that at least you're going to do these high priority tasks, right? Even if you have to change your routine to fit it in and do it. Let's say you're forced to go on a trip, right? A vacation, and you're packing your bags to go to the airport at like 1 p.m. Let's say your goal is to get an aesthetic body, but you usually go to the gym at 3. Like, that's like your kind of like, what's the word? How can I forget the word? I'm an idiot. Routine. Like, that's your routine. You're always going to the gym at 3 p.m. But since this is a high priority task because it relates to getting an aesthetic body, you have to switch your routine around in order to get this in. So instead of going to the gym at 3 p.m., you go at 10 a.m. You still did the highest priority task, right? You just had to switch it around due to different circumstances that were out of your control. So whenever things that are out of your control happen, you adapt by vowing that the very least you get your highest priority task done. Because if you can at least get your highest priority task done, you're making progress in that day. That day can be considered a good day, right? Just because you didn't meditate or journal doesn't necessarily make it a bad day. If you get the most important things done at least, that's like 70%. That's like should be considered 70% of a good day. And you're actually just making more progress in like that goal, right? Because you're not, because like if something happens and you just decide I'm not going to do like that high priority task, you're missing out on a day of progress. But if you're like, okay, at the very least, I'm going to go to the gym, or at the very least, I'm going to hop on this sales call, no matter if something is out of my control, no matter if I have to go to a birthday party or a trip, I'm going to make this happen. You will make infinitely more progress if you just do the high priority task no matter what, no matter if it's out of your control or not, because a lot of the times, there's going to be stuff that's going to be out of your control, right? But if you can just say, okay, I'm going to do this at least, you're going to make infinitely more progress than the guy that's just like, I don't care. Like, this thing is in the way of that, so I'm just not going to do it for the day. The only 2 passes you get for not doing your highest priority task is if you're really, really sick. Not just sick. I'm talking about really, really sick. Like, you can't move out your bed, or you're on your deathbed, like you're literally dying. Those people get a pass, but if you're not one of those 2, you don't get a pass. Section 4, see your routine as an ideal day and a challenge. Your routine is the thing that you have stuck up on your wall. It's the version of your ideal day. See your routine as your best day rather than a benchmark on what your average day should look like. I'm going to just say this right now. you're almost never going to get your routine down to a T, right? If you actually do somehow do that, it's only like a 1% chance. It happens like once every 100 days, right? So don't get mad or deviate from your routine just because you weren't perfect. See it as a challenge. Compare the routine to like how you would 100% a game, right? You get all the collectibles, all the skins, all like the secret bonuses and stuff, right? See that routine as 100% game file. See it as you 100% in the day. See it as a perfect day rather than an average one. And take that as a challenge. Be like, you know what? I'm going to actually try and be kind of enthusiastic about it. Like, I'm excited for tomorrow, and I'm going to actually see if I can actually get that 100%. Much like how a lot of people are excited to get like a platinum, and they like platinum grind, right? To get like that platinum in the game, which is kind of like the 100% of the game. And when you're enthusiastic and excited about like trying to get this like routine, like this ideal day, and trying to 100% your day in a way, you're less likely to give into vices and impulses, and you'll be much more hardworking and willing to work longer when you're really into this idea of trying to get that 100% day and following everything on your routine and plan. Well, that's all I have for today. I wish you luck on your journey, and peace.